Alors, bonjour à tous, bienvenue à cette disponibilité média des Canadiens de Montréal. On est en compagnie du défenseur Michael Matheson. On va prendre une première question de Stu Cowan. Stu, you're up.
Hey, Mike, can you hear me?
Yeah. How are you?
Very good. First question, do you prefer Mike or Michael?
Whichever. No real strong preference. Most people call me Mike, but whatever you like better.
All right. So just your reaction to coming back home. I'm sure it's been a crazy couple of days. Just your reaction coming back to Montreal with you and your family.
Yeah, I mean, it's been definitely a big whirlwind. I got to say, I didn't see any sort of trade coming. But when I did, to hear that it was Montreal was pretty special. I mean, I grew up in Montreal, obviously, in the West Island. Learned how to play hockey watching Montreal Canadiens games, and was a huge fan. Our whole family would sit down and watch every game. So to think that I'll be able to pull on that sweater and play in the Bell Center every night is really special. It's a crazy feeling, and it's pretty hard to describe. It almost feels surreal.
If I can combine two questions. One, just did you have a favorite Canadiens player, and also what was your wife's reaction? I believe she's from the Buffalo area originally, right?
Yeah. I mean, she was so excited too, because we've spent a few summers in Montreal as well. So obviously, it's a familiar place for both of us in a sense, and she could see the reaction on my face about how excited and how special it would be for me to play in my hometown. And for your first question, I think the player that was a household favorite for us was Saku Koivu. I think everybody in our house loved him and loved watching him play.
Thanks, Mike. Welcome back home.
Prochaine question, Richard Labbé. Richard, c'est à toi.
Oui, bonjour Michael, ça va bien?
Oui, ça va bien, merci.
Oui, premièrement, je voulais t'entendre parler sur le rôle que tu penses occuper avec l'équipe. Est-ce que je sais que ça vient juste d'arriver, mais est-ce que tu as déjà parlé avec la direction des Canadiens pour savoir un peu le rôle que tu vas avoir avec l'équipe la saison prochaine?
Je pense qu'on en a parlé un peu, mais je pense que c'est une chose qui va être qu'on va parler un peu plus quand c'est plus proche de la saison, mais je dirais que je veux amener ma game puis aider les jeunes joueurs à jouer dans la LNH, mais c'est sûr qu'ils sont déjà là pour une raison. Donc, je vais essayer d'être un peu d'un leader, mais en même temps, d'être sûr que je joue ma game puis j'aide les Canadiens à gagner les matchs.
L'année passée, tu as eu ta meilleure saison offensivement en termes de production. Est-ce que tu peux être ce genre de défenseur-là, Michael, le défenseur offensif un peu qui est capable de relancer le jeu? Parce que Martin Saint-Louis, je pense, aime beaucoup ce type de défenseur-là.
Je pense que ça, c'est quand je suis à ma meilleure. C'est quand je patine avec la rondelle, puis je distribue la rondelle à les autres joueurs, puis j'utilise mon coup de patin à être dans le rush, puis de supporter l'attaque. Donc, je pense que quand je patine bien, c'est quand je joue le plus bon hockey que je peux.
Merci.
Merci, Richard. Prochaine question, John, you're up.
Hi, Mike. Welcome back home. I was wondering, from what you might have observed from afar or heard from Canadiens players, whether in the press or directly, what have you discerned about Marty St. Louis and his style that you believe will help you take your game to an even higher level?
Well, I think first off, you just know him as the player that he was and how competitive he was, and overcame so much adversity of people telling him he'd never make it and things like that, and he kept persevering. And I think that you could tell once he got hired that there was just so much respect from his players that he commanded instantly because of his reputation, and was obviously able to follow that up through his coaching style. I obviously haven't been in the locker room with him, but it just seems like he's the type of guy that his players want to play for, and he'll make you want to run through a brick wall for you, and that sounds, for him, I should say, that sounds very cliche, but those are important aspects of a coach, of having the respect of the locker room.
My second question is, what was happening in Pittsburgh over this past season that enabled you to attain a career season, whereas the early part of your current contract in Florida, it seems that you weren't quite able to get your game to a level that perhaps you might have expected of yourself early on?
For sure, yeah, I definitely wasn't playing up to expectations, and was getting very frustrated with myself. I don't think my confidence was there. I really wasn't playing the way that I expect myself to play. And I think once I got to Pittsburgh, I was able to settle into a different system where I was given the opportunity to skate a little bit more, I think, and use my skating to be up in the opposing players' faces a little bit more instead of sitting back. I think when I'm sitting back, that's not when I'm using my strength. So, defensively, I like having a tight gap and using my skating to make it difficult for players to be coming through the neutral zone. I think I had a lot of success or more success in Pittsburgh because of that. And we'll definitely want to carry that over to Montreal here and continue to improve as well. Obviously, I have more growing to do, and I'm excited for the challenge.
Great. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Prochaine question, Marc-Antoine Godin. Marc-Antoine, c'est à toi.
Bonjour, Michael. Deux questions pour toi. Tout d'abord, tu mentionnes le fait qu'à Pittsburgh, tu as joué dans un système différent qui t'a plus favorisé. Là, d'arriver à Montréal, tu n'auras plus un gars comme Christopher Le Temps au sein de la brigade défensive. Tu vas peut-être avoir des match-ups aussi plus difficiles. Comment tu vois le défi en venant à Montréal par rapport à ton utilisation de faire face potentiellement à des joueurs encore de meilleure qualité que ce que tu affrontais comme compétition quand tu étais avec les Pingouins?
Je pense que mon temps à Pittsburgh, c'est un bon step à me développer, puis de pouvoir regarder les gars comme Chris Letang, puis ce qu'il fait chaque nuit, chaque journée dans les pratiques. Donc, c'est sûr que je trouve que je suis prêt à prendre cette step puis de m'avancer, puis avoir ces responsabilités comme ça. Donc, je sais que c'est un challenge, puis je veux un challenge comme ça.
Ouais. Par ailleurs, si je ne m'abuse, Kent Hughes a déjà été ton agent auparavant. Qu'est-ce que ça te fait comme feeling d'avoir, tu sais, tu étais un de ses clients, puis là, aujourd'hui, c'est ton boss. Comment tu trouves ça comme dynamique?
Ouais, ben c'est sûr que notre relation, c'est toujours vraiment bon quand il était mon agent. Puis on s'est parlé quand il décidait s'il allait prendre le job en Montréal. Donc, j'étais vraiment excité quand il l'a pris parce que je pense qu'il va vraiment être bon à cet emploi. Mais c'est sûr que notre relation va être un peu différente maintenant, un peu plus professionnelle. Mais je pense que ça va être bon pour moi d'avoir quelqu'un que je connais là, puis qui va pouvoir m'aider aussi.
Parfait. Merci.
Merci.
Merci Marc-Antoine. Prochaine question, Antonin Besner, RDS. Antonin, c'est à toi.
Merci beaucoup. Salut Michael. Première question pour toi. Écoute, tu joins une équipe qui est jeune, qui est en reconstruction de façon assez ouvert, là, comme quoi c'est en reconstruction cette équipe-là. Est-ce que c'est un peu une crainte pour toi? Comment est-ce que tu vois cette situation-là?
Non, pas du tout. Je pense que tu as vu ce qu'ils ont fait à la fin de la saison l'année passée, puis c'était excitant. Même pour quelqu'un qui jouait pas pour l'équipe, mais qui était de Montréal, j'étais quand même excité pour l'équipe. Donc, pour moi, d'être ici maintenant, puis de pouvoir avoir l'opportunité de faire partie du Canadien, c'est un rêve pour moi. Puis je pense qu'il y a pas autant qui est plus bon que celle-là d'avoir cette opportunité.
Excellent, merci.
Merci.
Merci, Antonin. Prochaine question, Arpon Basu. Arpon, you're up.
Hey, Mike. Welcome back to Montreal.
Thank you.
Yeah. Your French, you kept your French pretty good, so congratulations on that.
Thanks. I've been a little nervous about it.
Yeah, right. I mean, further to the question about Kent, I mean, well, I guess thanks to him, you're not going to have to negotiate a contract with your old agent for a while. But Kent mentioned something the other day, how, you know, signing that deal when you did, as early as you did, and having sort of that it maybe created expectations that were too high for you a little too early. I'm wondering if you would agree with that statement, and based on what you said before, like how did the dynamics of having such a good contract, a long-term contract so early in your career, do you think that it impacted your development at all in Florida?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I'm obviously older now and more experienced, and you know, would I rather have not gone through so many struggles here early on? No, I mean, I think there were very tough times on me, and not easy times, but at the same time, they led to who I am now, and so I think that was a great learning experience. I think to be able to go through tough times is important for any player if you can grow and use it to your advantage, and so. Yeah, for the contract especially, or specifically, I don't know if that affected things or not. I think things definitely snowballed while I was in Florida, and in a bad way, and you know, obviously didn't turn out the way I would have hoped for, but I don't think I'd go back and change anything because I think it was a huge learning experience, and it's going to help me, has helped me, and will continue to help me through the rest of my career.
And when you talk about a good step in Pittsburgh, obviously you had an excellent season last year. You know, you look at how the defense is going to kind of play out here in Montreal. There's a lot of young defensemen knocking on the door. There's probably going to be a bit of a rotating cast of younger rookies coming in on defense. To what extent, if at all, do you feel like what you experienced last year in Pittsburgh will allow you to maybe step into more of a leadership role, not just in terms of your role on the ice, but in terms of your role in the dressing room?
Yeah, well, I said it earlier that you know, all those players that are younger and kind of finding their way a little bit right now, they're there for a reason, and so they don't need somebody to really you know, to earn their right to be in the position they are. They got there by themselves, but at the same time, I think that can be very useful to have somebody to lean on and to ask questions to. You know, even the last couple of years in Pittsburgh, I'd been in the league for a little while, but I was still looking up to guys like Sid and Chris and Gino as guys that had been through just so much more than I had been, and watching them every day and what they do, their habits, having conversations about what it was like winning the cup, and what the locker room was like, what, you know, what led to those sorts of things coming together. And I tried to take advantage of that and advantage of the friendships that I had with them and will continue to have with them to really try to learn as much as possible. And hopefully I can now pass that on. And you know, the culture that they built there in Pittsburgh was really special and still is special. and that's what it takes to win in this league. So I'm not saying that I'm going to be Sid or Chris or Gino to the younger players in Montreal. They're a good step up above what I am, but if I can do anything to help them and learn from maybe the things that I did early in my career, then that's great. That helps the team.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Merci, Arpon. Prochaine question, Jean-François Chabot, Radio-Canada. Jean-François, c'est à toi.
Oui, bonjour, Mike.
Bonjour.
D'abord, bienvenue à la maison. Justement, on a souvent entendu parler des joueurs du Québec dire à quel point le fait d'endosser l'uniforme du Canadien en tant que joueur provenant du Québec agissait comme une motivation supplémentaire. Explique-nous à quel point tu as hâte, justement, de vivre cette expérience-là, que le camp d'entraînement commence, que la saison commence.
Ce moment-là va être vraiment spécial pour moi. Je pense que si tu viens pas de Montréal, c'est difficile à comprendre juste ce que ça fait pour les gens de Montréal de voir le Canadien. C'est pas juste un sport ou une équipe, c'est une religion. Puis c'est cet environnement-là que j'ai grandi, puis j'ai appris à jouer au hockey. Donc, c'est toujours mon équipe favorite. Donc, c'est sûr que ça sera vraiment spécial de mettre ce chandail puis de me mettre sur la glace là, au Centre Bell.
Est-ce que ça peut servir de motivation? Parce que tant que tu étais à Pittsburgh, les Pingouins, visiblement, avaient encore des aspirations pour aller chercher une Coupe Stanley. À Montréal, on rebâtit. Alors, jusqu'à quel point ça va te servir de motivation parce que tu es un gars de la place puis que tu vas chausser des patins et endosser l'uniforme ici à Montréal?
C'est sûr que je vais avoir beaucoup de fierté de pouvoir porter ce chandail-là, mais en même temps, c'est sûr que j'ai toujours été une personne qui est vraiment motivée moi-même. De dire que je vais pas avoir un peu plus de motivation de pouvoir jouer à Montréal. Je dirais que oui. C'est vraiment excitant, c'est une boost d'énergie. Puis j'ai toujours rêvé de jouer pour le Canadien, donc c'est vraiment spécial. Puis maintenant, je rêve de gagner une Coupe Stanley à Montréal.
Dernière question, parle-nous de ta réaction initiale quand tu as appris que tu t'en venais à Montréal et parle-nous aussi de la réaction de ta famille, de tes amis, de tes proches quand ils ont appris la nouvelle.
Ouais, j'étais vraiment choqué. C'est sûr que je ne me préparais pas pour ça. Donc, j'étais vraiment surpris, mais totalement excité. C'est sûr que, comme j'ai dit, c'est vraiment spécial d'avoir cette opportunité. Je me rappelle, j'étais sur un appel avec Ron Hextall qui me parlait de ça. Puis après, j'ai parlé avec Kent, puis il me disait que ça n'avait pas été reporté jusqu'à un peu plus tard, mais je pouvais entendre ma téléphone buzzer et tout ça. Donc, je savais que ça avait déjà sorti. C'est sûr qu'il y avait beaucoup de monde qui m'ont envoyé des messages textes qui étaient vraiment excités pour moi.
Merci beaucoup, Mike. Bonne saison.
Merci.
On va prendre une dernière question de Marc Antoine Godin. Marc Antoine, c'est à toi.
Merci, Tim. Ouais, Mike, je voulais juste te poser, j'en ai une en anglais pour toi, là, mais I mean, it's fair to say that you gained some consistency last season, and often guys will link consistency to confidence, but beyond that, is there something that you changed in your game so that the reward outweighed the risk on a more consistent basis?
I mean, I think that that's the name of the game in a nutshell, is being able to evaluate risk reward in split second decisions, and that's what makes the game of hockey so difficult. But I think I was able to learn to put myself into situations where those decisions weren't as impactful, and allowed myself to maybe have more time to make those decisions, or just was set up in the right situation where it wasn't as much of a decision. It was the, you know, instead of making the second play, you're just making the first play every time, and that usually leads to a lot more success. And so yeah, I think it'll be good to try to carry that over to Montreal, and I'm excited for the challenge of being put into a different role in certain situations, and I think I'm ready for it. I think I've grown a lot as a player over the last couple of years, and I'm excited about the fact that I feel like I have more growing to do, and it's not going to be perfect every night, and there's going to be some tough times still ahead, and I realize that, but I think with the tough times that I've been through, it'll help me continue to grow and hopefully become an even better product of what I am right now. I think you know, just the opportunity to play in Montreal is really special.
When you say that there's more growth or more growing in your game, do you feel as though, generally speaking, defensemen have growth in their game for a longer period than forwards? What's your view on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's tough to say, because you definitely see forwards that are able to transform their game through their career and take on different roles, and defensemen definitely do that too. I think there's just, you know, a bit of an elevated amount of responsibility for defensemen that there might not necessarily be for a forward, and so mistakes are a little bit more magnified for defensemen, and it definitely takes a little bit longer to learn that, and it's never a perfect product. Even the guys that are winning Norris trophies are still trying to build that and find that in their game. So it's a constant battle, for lack of a better term.
Right. And finally, have you ever played on your offside?
I have a little bit, yeah. I think there's benefits to both sides. I like being, you know, if I'm taking a rush, it's you play them differently depending on what side you are. Neutral zone transitions, you play them differently. Breakouts, you know, if you're walking the blue line from your offside, you're more naturally on your forehand, which is nice. So I've played it for sure, and there's definitely things you have to be aware of depending on which side you're on.
All right, merci beaucoup.
Merci.
C'est ce qui me fait à notre disponibilité médias. Merci à tous les membres des médias d'avoir été là. Merci Michael pour ton temps.